Okay, so today we're going to have a look at food chains and food webs, and hopefully this will help you with this lesson. And we're going to start with food chains because it's the simpler of the two, and then we'll go on to food webs, and we're going to have a look at food chains in a woodland. Okay, so the trick with doing food chains and food webs is that you space it out and take quite a bit of space, so it's all clear and then it's easy to read, and you don't get all confused, especially when you get onto the web, food web. Okay, so let's start. So we start off with our producer. So our producer in a woodland, let's have a look, is going to be grass. Okay, so our grass is a producer, so I'm going to write it just here. This is our producer in our food chain. Okay, now we do an arrow upwards like this, and I'll explain why in a second. So what eats grass is insects. So our insects are going to be eating the grass in the woodland, and we call our insects the primary consumer. Okay, you see how it's all on a line like this, so it's all nice and clear. Now the reason we do the arrow this way is because this is the way that the energy is going. The insects are getting their energy from eating the grass, so the energy is going this way up the food chain. So that's the way the arrows go. Sometimes people get confused, they do it the other way because it's like the insects are eating the grass, so they do it the other way. But remember, the arrow goes up the food chain in the direction of the animal. Okay, so now we need something that's going to eat the insects, and we'll put on a sparrow, those little brown birds that you see flying everywhere. So our sparrow is going to eat our insects, and these are called our secondary consumers. Okay, and then finally at the top of this food chain we're going to put a hawk, a lovely bird of prey. Now this one's a bit of a tricky one. This is called a tertiary consumer. Okay, these are quite straightforward. The producer is always a plant. Primary consumer, primary means first, so this is the first consumer, the first one to eat anything on our food chain. The secondary consumer is our sparrow, so secondary means second, like primary school, secondary school. And then tertiary at the top is our hawk. Okay, so that's a food web. Sorry, that's a food chain. Nice and simple, and obviously it will change depending on where you're going to do your food chain. So all this would be in an ecosystem, in our forest, in our woodland, so that's a nice food chain. But of course you don't just have these things, you have other things as well. So let's turn this into a food web now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on another producer. So I'm going to add seeds, just there. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to put mice. So the mice eat the seeds. Also, the mice would eat the grass. So we can do an arrow like that. Okay. Then I'm going to put up here, I'm going to put an owl. Now, the owl will eat the mice, but also the owl's going to eat the insects. So we do an arrow like that. Right, now, the hawk up here, he's going to also eat the mice, so that's going to come over like that. And there's some insects that would eat the seeds, so that goes like that. So you can see it gets a little bit more complicated, but it's more of a web. And this would be more what an ecosystem would look like. Of course, there'd be lots and lots and lots of more things, and it would get more complicated, and there'd be things up here perhaps too. But for now, let's stick to these four. So you can see how everything would have a knock on if this is our ecosystem. If there were fewer hawks, for example, if another predator from outside the ecosystem came in and started killing hawks, that would have an effect on the mice, it would have an effect on the grass, it would have an effect on the insects. So everything is affected if something happens to one of the things in the ecosystem. If there's not a lot of water and there's a drought, so there's no grass, if all the grass dies off, then these are going to eat more seeds, so there'd be fewer seeds. So one of the things that you need to start thinking about when you're doing food webs is how things are affected, even if they're not directly linked. So if there's fewer sparrows, how would that affect the seeds, for example? Or how would it affect the owls? Okay, so you could see if there were fewer sparrows, there'd be more insects because the sparrows aren't eating the insects, which means the owls would have more food. Yeah? Or if there's more insects, eventually they might eat all the grass, and there wouldn't be enough grass for the mice. So everything has an effect on everything else. So there's a basic food chain and food web. Have a go at the activity in your lesson, and also, if you'd like to, there's the ecosystem information sheets from lesson 1. Have a go at doing food chains and food webs on the different ecosystems from those lessons. Now you can make yours a lot nicer than mine. You could do little drawings, and if you made it big, if you did it on a big piece of A3 paper, you could make it really interesting, have some different colours and, like I said, different drawings for your different animals. I haven't done that today partly because I can't draw at all, and partly because I wanted to keep it really straightforward for you. With your labels here, you can put those right over at the side, and actually once you get used to doing them, you don't have to worry about putting them on your actual food web if you wanted to have a go at it with the ecosystems, with the different ecosystems. Anyway, I hope that is helpful. If you've got any questions, please message or email your teacher and we will help you out. Okay, bye bye.